Good day and welcome. My name is Roger Pierce and you've just joined the Startup Stop, where we answer your startup questions and hopefully help you grow a successful small business. My name is Roger Pierce and my co-host is Lily Mall, who I'll introduce in just a minute. But if you're watching this show, you're here to get hopefully some real expert advice about how to start and grow your small business. Every episode, which takes about 25 minutes, we will answer 4 questions from new entrepreneurs. And if you've got an additional question, feel free to enter it into the chat box and we'll do our best to get to it. So a bit about who I am and why we're here. My name again is Roger Pierce. I'm a small business expert. I've been running small businesses my whole life, and I've had 13 small businesses, technically 14, but there's a couple there I won't actually count. My company today is called Pierce Content Marketing, and we work with large brands to create small business content. So things like articles, guides, ebooks, interactive tools, videos, and lots of templates to help small business owners grow. Small business, I've worked with thousands of small business owners, and hopefully I can share some of my experiences with you here today. But more importantly, my lovely co-host, Lily May, is an entrepreneur, trainer, and coach. Welcome, Lily.
Yes. Hello, Roger. I'm so excited to be here. We have loads of questions for you today, so I'm really excited to get right into it. What do you think?
That's great.
Okay. All right. We're going to get started from Carl. So Carl has an idea for a social media app that, believe it or not, is not like any other one in the market at the moment. He just wants to know where to begin, how to get it developed, if you could give some advice. This is his dream and he wants to succeed. If he succeeds or fails, he just wants to give it a try. What advice do you have?
Great question. Thanks for bringing it up, Lily. So Carl, first of all, congratulations on your new business. I think you're in the right space at the right time. If anything is true these days, it's that apps are making a lot of money. However, there are, of course, thousands of apps, maybe millions of apps that we don't hear about because they haven't made any money. So you got to be prepared for the good and the bad. Hopefully you're one of the ones that does succeed. So your question is, how do you go about developing an app? I'm not an app developer myself, but I can certainly maybe give you some advice to point you in the right direction. To find an app developer, I would talk to a graphic designer or someone that you trust in the graphic design field. Chances are a person like that, a freelancer or someone working in a creative agency, would have a network, would have contacts, which may include someone on the programming side, which I think is what you need, to help you design and build a custom app. So my first reaction is talk to a graphic designer, see who they know, and try to connect with the right person. A couple of other options: if you have money, if you've raised money for your new business, I'm not sure if you have or not, you could always hire an app developer to work for you directly. That's what a lot of companies do. When they've got an idea, they raise the cash according to their business plan. And then of course they go out and hire a team, which the first person they might look at is a programmer to build the actual application. There's also a philosophy that you could just build it from existing apps. You know, you look at something like the Uber app. There's one that's made a bit of money, and it's constructed from a dozen or more other apps. So, you know, navigation apps and payment apps, all put together into this seemingly customized Uber app. So there is a couple of ways you can go about getting your app built. If you do decide to outsource the work, I would recommend you try to protect your IP, your intellectual property, as best you can. Maybe have people sign a non-disclosure agreement, which you should get drafted by a lawyer. You can download a version of an IP non-disclosure agreement on the internet and then just take it to a lawyer to save yourself some money. But you're going to want to make sure that your idea is somewhat protected before you go speaking to strangers.
Yeah, that's really good advice. You always have to make sure you protect that, especially in the situation that it's an app, it's an actual intellectual property. Yeah, that's important. That's important. I think you got all the points there, Roger. I think we could go to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is it's a bit of a longer story. So I'm gonna try to read this as much as I can. So it says, Roger, this might actually be I kind of have a feeling how you feel about this, but I really want to know your answer. I'm currently 17 years old, and my 18th birthday is next year. I know how to cook and work with food extraordinarily well after months of practice. To become a chef, I don't have to achieve a high level of academic success, just a diploma, and I'm currently in the 11th grade. I want to go for it, drop out of high school with a GED, so I can go vegan culinary school as fast as possible, finish sharpening my skills, and then start expanding in the global scene. I feel a little frightened though. I don't feel like I'm able to do this, but I know I am. Please tell me, what should I do? Should I burn down my tracks, leave no way to escape, and go all in on all cost? Or should I prepare a fortress for myself and wait until I have enough money and officially graduate high school? Let me know, Bria.
Well, thank you, Bria, for your question. And it's exciting. I think you're in a field that's very entrepreneurial. There are a lot of celebrity entrepreneur chefs out there. Wolfgang Puck for example. Martha Stewart has made billions of dollars from her culinary talent. So you're in the right industry at the right time. That's a great sign. In terms of finishing high school, I don't want to sound like an old dodgy guy right now, but I think you should, without a doubt, finish high school. I know you're excited to get your business going and get your career started, jump into chefing and cuisine full time. But you've got time. You're only 17 or 18. When you are ready, your career will be waiting for you. So why not take the time to finish that high school diploma and preferably finish a post-secondary diploma or degree as well. But here's the good news. You can apply your passion right away. I would recommend that once you finish high school, you are a perfect candidate for a culinary school or a chef's apprentice program. Check out what's available to you in your local market. And most of these culinary schools will have apprenticeship programs in place. In fact, all of them do. So that you can actually learn on the job, get real life working experience while you finish your education. So that might help you scratch that itch that you've got to get going in your chosen profession. You can further scratch that itch by, of course, taking a part-time job, which is going to do something else wonderful for you, help pay for your education, which you're going to need. So really encourage you to take the longer perspective, finish your education, get your diploma, get your degree, finish high school. I know you're optimistic about your future, but having an education is like insurance. If things don't work out as you hope, and I hope they will, at least you've got that diploma or degree to fall back on in case you need to get a job.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lily?
I agree. I'm a strong believer in starting things small. I'm not the kind of person that if you need to take the island, you need to burn the boats. I'm always like, keep the boats just in case you might need it. I just want to add to what you're saying. Get a job, get a part-time job, get a job at a restaurant that serves vegan food and see if you actually like it. And try to go to a restaurant that is a little bit smaller where you can actually really understand how the business works from, all the way from the wait staff all to the owner. So I think that's important. That's one of the things that I did when I was starting out in the fashion industry. I was interested in opening up a store for myself. And I did an internship with these group of young entrepreneurs that were creating hospital scrubs, even though it was kind of not really in what I wanted to do because I wanted to be in high fashion, but at least I knew how it was like to actually run a business all the way from creating and stitching your own clothing to actually selling it at retail. And that's when I realized it's actually something I didn't want to do, because I only saw like the highlights of it on how glamorous it can be. I didn't realize the amount of work that went into actually running a retail store. So I didn't go into business for myself, but what I did was I got a job in that field that I found that I could utilize my skills the best, which was in purchasing and buying, because that's what I was interested in. I was not interested in the day-to-day customer service aspect of the retail store. And
what a great story.
Thank you. It seems like a lifetime ago because I think I was 16 at the time, so close to Bria's age. I was 16 when I went into it.
I really like what you just said. Go and sample on someone else's dime. these different jobs, these different experiences. You might not even like running a small business. Go and work for a small business for a while to see if it actually, lives as well as it reads.
Yeah.
A lot of people dream about small business, dream about running their own show, but once they get into it and they realize there's marketing and selling and bookkeeping and production and long hours and little money, then they realize, what have I done? I was much happier with a job.
I know, absolutely. I so agree with that. Okay, so next question comes from Mark. I got interested in consultancy services in which I would provide write-ups on business-related documents such as business plans. I think, Roger, you know a thing or two about that. Policy papers, manuals, conducting market surveys, and undertaking research on development and social issues. I targeted both local and international firms. My reason for writing to you is to point out that this business has failed to take off. I have a lot of difficulties getting business and establishing necessary infrastructure. And what would your advice be? Because I'm already 50 years old and I may not be able to get a job now. May you advise me, please? From Mark.
Okay, very good question. Thank you, Lily. And hi, Mark. A couple of thoughts. I'm not quite sure how long you've been in business. I'm going to assume it's still in the startup phase, that you've been in business for just a couple of years and you're feeling frustrated with some lack of progress according to your ambitions. I will say consulting is a competitive industry. There are consultants of all stripes: human resources, marketing, finance, you name it. There's a consultant for everything, including a lot of business plan consultants. So because it's such a competitive industry, and of course because it's a service-based business, it really helps to define your expertise, your niche as best as you can. So for example, you mentioned the business plans, and Lily, you mentioned them as well. Let's just assume for a second that you specialized in business plan development and that you did it for new companies, for startups, because that's what this show is all about. If that was your path, all of a sudden your marketing strategy and your sales strategy will become clear. If I wanted to reach new entrepreneurs with my business plan development services, I would go out and network with bankers and lawyers and accountants and other consultants that were dealing with, so they could refer me business. I would attend trade shows and conferences where I found new entrepreneurs. If I had some money, I could advertise online, perhaps through pay-per-click, to people using startup search-like terms. So it all comes down to really defining your consultancy into the niche that you're good at serving and one that you identify as being profitable. And Mark, it really does come down to sales. At the end of the day, nothing's going to happen unless you get out there and make some sales. And I think you'll find it a much easier go if you've got that well-honed product offering tailored to a specific niche. But a lot of it's just rolling up your sleeves, right, Lily, and getting out there and selling.
It's so true. I did an interview this morning with someone who's an entrepreneur. He's in the fitness industry, so he has his own gym with his partner. And a topic that was similar to this came up. I was like, how do you stand out from the crowd? And this is in the fitness world, so very different from what we're talking about. And he said, almost exact same answer as you. You need to figure out what your niche is. You need to figure out what you specialize in. Because in the beginning, he was training all sorts of people. He'll train moms who are trying to lose weight, to like weightlifting, to like all sorts of things. And he found himself to distribute it, and he wasn't standing out until he was able to like zero in on his client and the specific service that he was offering. That's when he saw a huge spike in his sales. So it's coming from all different types of industries. It's the same thing.
You just reminded me too. I had lunch this week, or yesterday actually, with an old friend of mine, a colleague who is one of the country's top franchise consultants. So a very specialized niche. All he does is help people who want to get into a business find the right franchisor. So he doesn't sell franchises, he's independent. He simply has a screening and vetting process that makes sure is matched with the right business opportunity, whether it's a McDonald's or a Kumon Learning franchise. So he really looks at everything, from how much money the entrepreneur has to spend to what kind of work they like to do. And then he matches that to the criteria for the franchisor. But he was talking to me about funnels and sales conversion and lead generation. And it impressed upon me how scientific he had gotten over the last few years since we last met about getting leads into his pipeline. It was very, very specific. He knew exactly how many qualified leads he needed every month in order to take home a paycheck. So it really is a sales game, but I will repeat, it's much, much easier if you know exactly who you're selling to.
Yeah. Figure out who your ideal client is. Find out where they live. I always say that to my clients as well. Like, who's your ideal client? Where do they live? And find out, like, literally, like, where do they hang out? And find a way to actually market towards them specifically. So with the folks that I work with, a lot of the times their clients may be like the potential clients, ideal customer may be living in social media. They might be heavy on Instagram. So I try to get them. It's like, okay, so you need to market them through Instagram, but you need to figure out who this person is and find out what their lifestyle is to begin with.
That's great advice. It almost comes down to just short of stalking the customer, figuring out who
Yes.
they are, where they hang out, and happening to be there as well.
Yeah, you just happen to be stalking. I call it curiosity.
Much nicer term.
All right, I call it curiosity, not stalking. Okay, one more last question to go. It comes from Jennifer. Okay, this is a nice one. I would love it if you could let me just rephrase that. So Jennifer wants your opinion on a campaign that she's thinking about creating. So she has she's spoken to her friends about crowdfunding, and she's writing her first children's folk album. So I'm going to read exactly how she wrote it, actually. Maybe it might make more sense. I'm being published or self-published by Hay House. Okay, so here's a catch. You know how books are. They have about good 6 months to really get the word out. I'm wanting to create my own book tour that costs some money. So I'm going to try to be super creative, and I'm reaching out for inspiration to do this. Do you think crowdfunding would be a good avenue, or should I consider something else? Any advice? I basically need $2,600 for this to happen. I've crunched the numbers. I created a plan. What do you think?
Very exciting. As an co-author of a book in the past, I can speak a little bit to this. Mm-hmm. And Jennifer, I would say to you that my first reaction was, wow, $2,600 to do a book tour? You should come work with me. I'd love to know how you do that for such little money. $2,600 is not an unreasonable amount of money. So that's good news. That means it's a very obtainable target in my estimation. And I think you're on the right track, or your friend is on the right track. Crowdfunding is a very viable strategy for you. You can go to a site such as Kickstarter or Indiegogo or GoFundMe. There's lots of great options out there. Take your time, check out the right one for you. And you can start to raise money. Maybe you raise $5,000, so you've got some extra to do the things you want to do. The thing about crowdfunding is you've got to give your supporters something in return. Usually they're structured so that you've got different play levels. So if I give you a $10 support or a donation, are you going to give me a free copy of the book? If I give you $20, do I get a signed copy of the book? If it's $25, do I get a t-shirt with the book? And so forth and so on. So you've got a little bit of a package or a menu for people, so everyone has an option to support you at their financial comfort level. But a couple of other thoughts. Because it's a children's book, can you get a sponsor to offset some of your tour costs, or maybe even to host you on the tour? One of the first things I did, it's actually how I met Evan Carmichael, was Evan was doing a live seminar series at Chapters Indigo in Toronto for startups, surprise, surprise, on how to start your own business and what it's like. And then he just got too busy to do it, and he passed the opportunity over to me and one of my partners. We ended up doing the seminars in Chapters Indigo. We then took that pilot project and made it a national campaign for a big box retailer across the country. So using that kind of thinking, is there a way you can find a sponsor or a brand, children's toys, books, someone, a publisher, someone who can help you offset some of those costs? And speaking of Evan Carmichael, I don't think he would mind, but I would suggest getting in touch with Evan, who is just this week launching his second book.
Yes.
Top 10
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've got my copy. I know you do too, Lily. But Top 10 Rules for Success, you know, he's done both ways. He's gotten a publisher, and now he's self-publishing this current book. So I'm sure he would be a wealth of advice and information. Lily, he might even be willing to do some kind of specialized video on this subject for self-publishers as well, eh?
I think so too. Yeah, he's a good person to. I think he has done videos on how to publish your book from his one word perspective when he went with a big time publisher. And then this time, I don't think he has made a video on how to self-publish. I'm sure it's coming though. It's down the pipeline. People are going to wonder.
Maybe we'll give him a prod.
Yeah, we should do that. We should do that. So Roger, we actually got a live audience member asking a question.
Great.
From your YouTube channel. So Emmanuel Garcia, thank you for joining us. He's asking, how do you get past the gatekeeper? So I tried to clarify with him. I was wondering which gatekeeper he's talking about, but I'm assuming he's talking about cold calling, getting past gatekeepers.
Very good question. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for watching. I have a lot of experience with this. I deal with a lot of big companies, and there are a lot of gatekeepers. It's not always a question of getting past a gatekeeper. It's a question of getting to the decision maker directly. People are pretty accessible these days, but even just getting their attention is key. But I'll try to focus on your particular challenge. So you've got somebody who is watching the executive suite office rigorously and not willing to let you through the proverbial door. I would go to LinkedIn first and foremost. See what you can find out about the person you want to meet. Assuming they're an executive at a company, they're going to have a pretty current LinkedIn page. Find out what their interests are, find out what their hobbies are, find out their background, find any kind of connection or reason to connect with them that the two of you share. So, for example, I'm a volunteer scouter. Not that I want to use scouts all the time to make connections, but if someone I'm trying to reach is involved in scouts, and there's a chance that most people are, there's a common denominator that will help me to strike up a conversation, perhaps through a LinkedIn message or through some other forum like Facebook. It's all about making a connection. So I would really encourage you to spend the time to go over your intended connections profiles on social media. Follow them on Twitter so your name becomes known to them, and do what you can to find a reason for you to chat. And when you do chat, don't make it all about business. Start the conversation about scouting or about dance or about salsa or whatever it is that you think will bring you to get together, and then turn the conversation to business when you actually have an actual conversation.
I think that's an important key to that, because they probably get a lot of like soliciting type questions. So they see it right away. But I like the fact that you said don't make it about business from the beginning, and then eventually it turns into business. That's fine. It's going to be an organic flow. When you talk about scouts, are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts. Yes.
Girl Scouts. Boys and Girl Scouts.
Boys. Okay. Yeah, because there are a lot of people who are probably in the same industry as you that have like similar hobby. I like the fact that you mentioned the Boy Scouts as well, because it's a different side to people you're going to see in that kind of environment, right? So maybe they're perhaps a little bit more relaxed because they're around their kids, whatever it is. Maybe it's an easier way to get through to them versus like, you know, in their office where everybody is like, you know, have their shields on. I think we have like different personas in different times. So when you get them at a time that they're doing something they're very passionate about, they might be a little bit more open.
It's all about starting a relationship, like you said. It's not, people have their business face on. It's all about starting a relationship. And to strike up a conversation, you have to find something you can both talk about.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so.
Great question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. So, Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us, Emmanuel. And if you have any further questions, please let us know. So it's good, Roger. We're getting some live audience as well. Anything else? Any last words for our friends? I think we talked a lot about curiosity about our customers.
That's right.
Or you called it stalking.
That's
And
right.
yeah, also finding out how to develop relationships with the people we potentially want to work with. Like, what are a couple of things that people could do just to start? Like, just start to make that connection. Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? What do you think?
LinkedIn, social media, go to the events where the people hang out that you want to meet, trade shows, conferences, networking events, and just try to be there and rub shoulders with people and have a conversation. That's really how you start a relationship, is if possible a little bit of face-to-face contact. It's not always possible in today's digital world, but if you can find a way to have a meaningful connection with someone before you talk business, I think you're going to have a longer term relationship.
Nice. I like that. I actually have a question. I know we're a little bit over, so I'm going to try to keep this really quick. What's your opinion about networking? Would you suggest networking with a lot of people, just playing the numbers game, going to network events, collecting business cards, or do you recommend having a smaller network but a really deep, more meaningful network of people that you could potentially expand to others?
I'm a big fan of more selective networking. I've met people that have stacks of business cards and lots of connections, but they really aren't very active connections. So I'd rather, you do some research, figure out where are the customers going, what networking events are they attending to, and that's where you should be targeting your own activity. So you want to fish where the fish are. Go where your customers are hanging out, join their networking events. I think that's a much better way to spend your time.
Yeah, I like that too. I just wanted to get your opinion on it. Okay, cool. We're on the
Anytime.
same page, Roger. We're on the same page. Awesome. I think that's it, guys.
Well, that's it so much. Well, I'll take the liberty of wrapping it up. Thank you so much, Lily Ma, for co-hosting today and providing all these wonderful questions, and of course your insights into entrepreneurship as well. For those of you watching, feel free to send in questions and we will do our best to answer them next time on the Startup Stop. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.